Feels like you can sleep for 1,000 years.
You feel like boulders flying?
I feel I was totally drained out. I feel like there was no energy left in me.
And you might not want to see it again for a while because you've seen it so many times in the edit.
Sometimes films are finished before they're ready. That's kind of sometimes deadlines and restrictions can force a finish.
I remember the first time I made a film and showed people, and it's really bizarre. It's like holding a monitor up to your brain and inviting in people to see your thoughts, to physicalize an idea, to physicalize your imagination into this thing, this tangible thing.
Finishing a film is a little terrifying, to be honest, because you suddenly have to sort of sit back and reassess where it is and what it is that you're going to tell next.
Trash, man. Trash. But definitely still proud of them. Like I said before, you know, it's a fragment of your past, your beliefs in the past. And that's special, you know?
Definitely just see them as a learning process. I'm glad that I just tried to experiment and build some confidence and stuff like that, but not stuff that I would make again, ever.
You're a better filmmaker at the end of that film than you were when you started it. So there are inevitably things that you don't like about it.
But at the end of the day, that's what you could achieve at that point in your life. And yeah, I don't think I would want to change anything, because then it would be a completely different film. It is what it is, and that's what I made at the time, and I'm proud of that because I also learnt a lot from that experience as well. And you're only going to learn more and more the more films you make.
Yeah, I'd love to say that I found peace with them, but I'm one of those directors that can't watch their old stuff. Every time I look at it, all I see is the mistakes, all I see is the issues with it. I know what the proper response would be, and that would be, it's a learning experience. But inside, I shrivel up every time one of my old films comes on.
You know, I hear people say all the time, like, oh, I'm so critical or whatever. I'm like, no, not at all. It is hard making films. You put a lot of sweat and tears and effort into making films. So when I watch that, and it is not perfect by any, stretch of the imagination, but I love it because I'm like, man, I miss those people that I worked with. I miss that energy. I miss that drive. I love what we ended up doing. It's imperfect, but it's perfectly complete.
I watched my film before one day, and I was surprised because I think, that case was very brave. Like, I knew nothing, but I did such a crazy stuff, And I feel like when I was younger, I was not afraid of any. I couldn't see my restrictions. Like, it's like if I want to do something, I would just go ahead and do it. And it's actually very, it encouraged me, at this age, but still the film was shitty.
After I finished Leo, I had a big realization of I like the film as it is, but it's not the film that the world needs. There's nothing urgent in this film. There's nothing, I made it for myself and I made it to say something myself, but I still saw the growth that I needed to go through as a director.
I learned that if you bring on board other talented people, it'll only make your job a lot easier.
What I learned from making Book of the Old Ways is that despite severe inexperience, a lot of fear, it is entirely possible to make a film which feels large.
And to know that I've got this, confidence in, my small, tiny voice, feels really empowering.
Learning to work with actors and how to kind of like create that dialogue.
I learnt that a film, particularly a short film, doesn't have to be a complete sequence of anything. It can be just an idea and just a feeling. And there was a really strong feeling I wanted to explore, and that was people's experience with memories, particularly memories with people that had passed away. And I think that I lost that a little bit in all the other things that I wanted to do. And so I think that I learnt that sometimes it just needs to come back to one thing.
When you're making a film, really carefully think about length. I disregarded this advice when I was making Book of the Old Ways, and I decided to make it 20 minutes long. If you can edit it down to like 15 minutes or less, do it. My film's done okay, but I feel like it could have done better if I'd actually made it shorter. And I was, I was young at the time, I was brash. I thought, I don't need their advice, I'll just make it as long as I want. But seriously think about whether it's possible to cut your film down, because it has a better shot at being in festivals if it is shorter.
I entered Leo into 2 film festivals. I entered it into St Kilda and MIF. And it didn't get into MIF, and it got into St Kilda, and I got a little bitter about that, and I didn't submit it to anywhere else. I didn't want to pay the money to submit it. Submitting films is expensive, by the way.
I was fortunate enough to have my film get into quite a lot of international festivals, so mainly in the US. The only unfortunate thing was once I'd spent all my money on my graduate film, I had no money to then go to these other festivals. So I do think when you're saving money for your film that you also consider what happens once the film's done and just the cost of submitting to festivals, and then also to be able to have the opportunity to go to those festivals if you get in.
Obviously, yeah, we went into COVID like soon after we graduated. So, yeah, I kind of was wondering what I should do with the film. And I remember reading, it was just this Melbourne guy, James PDF, and he decided to just, he'd written in an article that he'd just decided to like premiere it online on like ID magazine or something like that. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should just think about kind of an internet release.
It got into Melbourne Queer Film Festival, and it got into St Kilda Film Festival, and then it got into like 10 other international queer film festivals. And so that's where it sat. It sat in queer film festivals, which is great because it reached its audience.
Well, I'm very bad at self-promotion or anything around that as it is. So when it came to festivals, I kind of just didn't do it. A very little amount, but I did learn the value of finding that I'm not really strong in that area, so I need to find a person to partner with, like a producer, who is on board to help me in that process. I think that's a really good lesson I learned.
Yeah, I mean, aim internationally, but also try to aim locally because you're more likely to be able to go, and it's a really fun experience being able to watch an audience experience your film for the first time and to see their reaction.
Yeah, but I think the reason why I chose to premiere it online as well was just like, you don't have to go down that like straight trajectory of how becoming a filmmaker or having success should be. I think that with like the rise of technology and just all these different modes of media and how we consume things online, like there's so much room for how you can kind of enter into industries and like explore this medium and stuff. So I don't never think that you have to go down this like super straight trajectory of what it means to like be in the industry.
Starting out as a young filmmaker, it's incredibly difficult right now, our relationship with streaming platforms, because they are currently holding all of the rights to IP. so that you don't get eventual returns on all this blood, sweat, and effort that you've made down the line years from now. Unfortunately, the deal we have to make with the devil right now is you need to get into a relationship with them on these weird terms so that you are out there, whatever that means. We hope that in future we will actually get the rights, like where you can be like, oh no, I'm actually building a legacy for myself and for my family, etc. But unfortunately right now, it's a deal with the devil. So make a mark, make a splash, tell the story you want to tell and make it great, as good as you can do. And even though you won't hold the rights to that right now, hopefully if enough of us, start to say something about it in future, you will.
Well, I'm doing a production company with my producer. And also I'm writing a feature film, and I'm also developing a TV series.
This program called the NICE scheme, which is just kind of like this government-supported thing. It's kind of like Centrelink payments, but they give you money, like a little bit of money every 2 weeks to kind of help start up a business.
Gotta do my honors next year, so I'll be watching myself watching this.
I'm being sucked into sucked into the world of commercial filmmaking at the moment because it pays, and I need money to make more films.
Doing a lot of writing, especially during COVID and lockdown. Working on other projects, just trying to build that experience, but then also still remembering that, writing and directing is the goal, and to keep trying to nurture that in whatever way you can.
And I got into the film space before there was like a camera on everybody's smartphone. There were no smartphones. And at the time I got into film, it was about being able to represent people from my community in a way that was authentic to who they are and the stories that we can share. That hasn't changed, even though we've got everyone can tell a story now. You literally have the means of production in your pocket. But film now, for me, why film? I want to share something about where I come from and who makes me up and my point of view.
There is probably no medium that is stronger, more palpable than the moving image.
Once you've planned everything and put everything in place and you're there on set and you say action and you're watching it all happening, it's literally coming to life before your eyes.
It's fun, I think, sometimes, yeah. But it's rewarding, and, I'm a storyteller, and film's the best way to preserve stories.
But why film? Because I can't seem to do anything else. I've tried. I did years of pharmacy school. I did years of commerce. I always knew deep down I'm going to end up in film. I don't even know I'm wasting my time. But when you need to do film, it doesn't matter what you do. You always return back to it. It's like this thing that eats you up. When you're not working on film, you're thinking about film. When you're not thinking about film, you're watching films and envisioning your own films. It's not something you choose so much as something that arrests you and you can't seem to escape.
Would it be super bad if I say film is not my favorite thing? I don't love film. I like films, but to be very honest, I think I like everything that is creative. Like if I'm not a filmmaker, I won't mind at all. Like being a chef, I think that's very interesting. But I like visual stuff. I like creating. I like stories. I think film is more like, for me, it's more like a perfect combination of all the stuff I like. And it's funny. It's interesting. Yeah.
So love it. Love your own work. Because people don't love you. So do you and love you, boo-boo.